Hola, soy yo, Vicky, otra vez. Please excuse the dog in the background. He's just decided to wake up and start playing. So at least you know he's not dead, because normally he's just fast asleep. Okay, so welcome to. I'm doing a history video today, Spanish history. I'm going to talk about the declining popularity of King Juan Carlos I. So from hero to hated, and so why was he such a hero in the first place, and why over the years has that changed so much that he's actually just this month had to go into exile, self-imposed exile. So maybe you know a little bit about him already, maybe you don't. I personally I'm always very interested in history. I hope you are too. Presumably, if you're still watching this, you are at least curious to see something about him. Maybe you already know a little bit about him. But anyway, I'm going to explain sort of a little bit about him and sort of what I think are the reasons why he did go from being so popular to being not just unpopular, but reviled, hated, so literally from one extreme to another. So this is King Juan Carlos I, and he reigned from November 1975 until he abdicated in June 2014. So he reigned for a long time. I mean, I'm not brilliant with maths, but it's 40 years. More or less. So a long time, and for most of that time he was very popular. Certainly when I came here, which 22 years ago, 1997. So yeah, I mean it was 2014 when he abdicated. So yeah, he was still popular for a few years after that. So Juan Carlos I, who is he? So he was the grandson, or he is, as he's still alive, of course. He is the grandson of the last king of Spain before the abolition of the monarchy in 1931 because of the Civil War. So the monarchy was abolished at that time. His grandfather, Alfonso VIII, he was the king. So I'm presuming, I haven't really looked back that far, but I'm presuming that the monarchy wasn't popular then, and that's why there ended up being a civil war. One day I must do a video about the causes of the civil war, because I've got to be honest, I really don't know exactly what the reasons were. So Juan Carlos I, he was born after the abdication of the monarchy. Spanish monarchy, went off to live in Italy, and he was born on January the 5th in 1938 in Rome. And although Franco took charge and the fascist state was established after the Spanish Civil War, which ended in 1939, in 1947, the monarchy of Spain was affirmed again. So Franco, although he was a fascist, he was a traditionalist. He obviously believed in the monarchy. So for him to let the monarchy be affirmed when really nothing was happening in Spain then without Franco's say-so. And he passed a law, or a law was passed, but I think you might as well say he passed a law because he more or less dictated what went on. He passed a law that he could choose his successor. So as time went on, so he was probably starting to think, well, what's going to happen after I go? And he passed a law that he could choose his successor. And initially, it was Juan Carlos's father that he chose, Juan. But in 1969, Franco bypassed Juan in favour of his son, Juan Carlos, because he thought that Juan was too liberal. He didn't think he would carry on in the tradition that Franco expected, because Franco just expected everything to carry on as before. And so he switched his allegiance, if you like, and he took Juan Carlos under his wing, and he started sort of training him up, if you like, to be his successor. So Juan Carlos himself had spent his early years in Italy, and he had returned to Spain in 1947. In 1962, he married Princess Sophia of Greece and Denmark. And together they had 2 daughters and a son. So that was Elena, Christina, and the son, of course, was Felipe, who is the current king of Spain. So by then, you know, Franco's health as time went on was declining. And so gradually he encouraged his protege, Juan Carlos, to take over gradually, doing head of state duties, and so gradually sort of grooming him, if you like, for the day that he wouldn't be there any longer and Juan Carlos would take over as a monarchist dictator, if you like. And yeah, so in November the 22nd, 1975, only 2 days after Franco had died, Juan Carlos I became king. And almost immediately he announced that he believed in democracy and he wanted Spain to be a democracy. He didn't want it to continue to be a dictatorship. And he began to dismantle the fascist state with the new powers that he had. He began to dismantle the fascist state. So Franco was probably turning in his grave by then. But anyway, that's what he did. And this led to a referendum. And the referendums, they always leave a bad taste in your mouth. And that referendum led to the establishment in 1978 of the Spanish Constitution, and Spain became a democracy. So yeah, 1978, that's why Spain always feels a little bit behind, because it, you know, it is behind, if you like. It's not now. I mean, we're in 2020 now, so it is a modern democracy. But it took its time to get there because it started later. And then this establishment of the Constitution led to a failed coup. The coup that's on another video that I've done on Spanish history, where Alfredo Suarez, you know, stood up to the Guardia Civil general, I think who was attempting a coup, and it was defeated. And Juan Carlos came over very well through that as well, although he wasn't there at the parliament when it happened. The very next day he was on the radio, etc., imploring the Spanish citizens, you know, to reject the idea of going back to a Francoist sort of type state. And, you know, he was instrumental in the defeat of that as well. So I think that was it when he was at the height of his popularity. You know, he was handsome, he was married with a lovely family, etc. And everybody loved him. He couldn't do any wrong at that time. So where did it go wrong? Well, in my opinion, it went wrong very gradually, but then in the end it happened quickly. Because he was you know, he was a family man in one way, but he had lots of extramarital affairs, and there are allegedly at least two illegitimate children of his by different women. So he had many affairs, and I think just gradually, you know, time changes, and what monarchies could get away with, if you like, years ago when people didn't have social media and stuff like that. And really, you know, years ago, people, it was just, oh, you know, the king or queen of any country would just come out every now and again, give a wave, maybe give a speech every now and again. But really, we didn't really know what they were up to in their private lives. That, of course, is all different now. And I think the main thing that went wrong for him then was la crisis, the recession. So the big the worldwide recession, the credit crunch, whatever you want to call it, it hit Spain hard. I know it hit everywhere hard, but believe me, it was like I was here. It was almost overnight, a bit like the COVID crisis. So they were only just recovering from the la crisis, and now we've got COVID. So, you know, but anyway, so going back to that, we had 25% unemployment in Spain, you know, which is huge when you think about it. Whole families, because of course in Spain, a lot of families that all live together, you know, and there'd be some households where not one person would be working, you know, so food banks were established. And of course, in Spain, you know, there's only a minimum payment that you can claim once your paro or your dole money is run out, which is €200 a month, just to stop you starving. So, you know, people were struggling, you know, losing their houses, everything. You know, after the boom, it was the big bust. And what did King Juan Carlos I do? Well, he went off to Botswana and went on an elephant shoot and shot an elephant. And a photo emerged of him, you know, proud as punch, having shot this poor elephant. And I think it was not only, you know, the fact that it was an elephant and people didn't like to see an elephant being shot, because times have changed. I think, you know, although hunting is one thing, but going off and hunting elephants and tigers and things, you know, the things that we don't like it. People in general don't like it, and Spanish people don't like it either. So, you know, apart from all the affairs that he's had, one in particular, which was with a German aristocrat, a German lady, and I'm going to pronounce this completely wrong, but her name was Corinne zu Sein Wittenstein. Sorry if you're watching, Corinne, because I've probably pronounced it completely wrong. But that was especially unpopular because obviously the Queen was popular and the children were popular, and with her being German as well, so she was foreign, not, you know, and she was an aristocrat, and they just seemed to be at a time where people were really struggling. They just seemed to be sort of throwing money around, and he was flying off to Botswana, you know, in the state's money, if you like. There was other shooting incidents, like there was a big scandal that he'd shot some bears, some Russian bears, which were tame bears, and one was pregnant. You know, there was some awful stories that came out. I think he just didn't see, you know, he seemed very old fashioned in his thinking. He didn't seem to realise that people really wouldn't like that. And there were also a lot of allegations of misappropriation of money, you know, and things like that. So all that combined, really, and then just, I think, culminating with the photo of him shooting this elephant when going on, and not only shooting the elephant, but going to all the way to Botswana on a hunt when everybody else was really tightening their belts and struggling just to put food in their mouths. And he's sort of, you know, gallivanting around the world shooting elephants. So that did it, really. That was really, I mean, it did happen that quickly. You know, it just seemed like 1 minute he was, yeah, they knew he had, you know, there was a few grumblings, if you like, in his affairs, and, you know, people, as long as a monarch or a politician, as long as they don't tell them what to do and it looks like they're doing the right thing, you know, private lives, as long as it's nothing illegal, I don't think they're really bothered, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. But I think it was the elephant thing that did it. I think it was just the final straw. There was rumblings already, and then when they saw that he'd done that, it was just, he never came back from that. So he abdicated. And really, it was one of those, you know, jumping before you pushed, because if he wouldn't have abdicated, I don't know what would have happened, because the people just didn't want him anymore. And King Felipe, his son, he's now our king, and it all seems very low-key. I don't normally hear much about him. Maybe you know different. If you do, please leave me a message in comments, because you know, I haven't seen anything terrible about him. I mean, there's always allegations of money things and corruption, but I don't know if they're actually aimed at him. But again, I'll stand corrected if anybody wants to leave me a comment about that. So, I think what happened, my personal opinion about King Juan Carlos I, as I say, going from not only, you know, a monarch that was popular, but a monarch that was loved, revered, brought Spain, modernised Spain, brought it, you know, oversaw it become a democracy and move into the sort of 21st century, to go to the other complete extreme where he was so hated that he was forced to abdicate, and now he's been forced to go into exile in Abu Dhabi, of all places. And I mean, I'm sure he won't be slumming it there. I mean, he's in his 80s now. I don't know if he's gone off there with his German courtesan or whatever you'd call her. I don't know if he's still with her. I don't know that side of things. Again, he's left under a complete cloud because there's allegations of money laundering or money embezzlement or whatever you want to call it to Abu Dhabi as well. So it's all very murky, and I think Spain's been glad to see the back of him. But it's a shame because at one time he was this hero of the people. So I think my personal opinion is what Juan Carlos did. I mean, he obviously had the best intentions, because when he came to power after Franco died, he could have been a dictator. He could have just carried on as a dictator, and you know, he didn't want to do that. He wanted to modernise Spain. So I think that's a good thing. But I think what happened, which I think a lot of monarchies forget, you know, and not only now in modern times, but it's always been the downfall of a monarchy when they misjudge the mood of the people. So go from the French Revolution to the Russian Revolution. You know, the people, although even in those times they didn't have social media and things like that, I think you can never underestimate, you know, the people, because obviously when they get together, there's a lot of them and they can do a lot. And of course, in these days now, social media, and so we've seen it with Prince Andrew, with the British royal family. You can't just go around doing what you want. You know, probably years ago, the royal family, they did do whatever they wanted, and nobody took any notes. They didn't really, well, they either didn't care or they never saw what they got up to. And now it's different because we get to know what they're up to. And, you know, Prince Andrew made that terrible interview thinking, you could almost tell by the way he was talking that he just thinking, what's everyone making a fuss about, because I've got away with this for years, and why is it all coming to a head now? But you know, it's a different world now, you know. And of course we all love the Queen, because even me, and I'm not a royalist, I have a lot of respect for the Queen, but what will happen when she goes? Because, you know, to be perfectly honest, I don't have much respect for anybody else in the royal family. That's just me, though, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it'll be a long time yet. So yeah, I think you know, and especially now with COVID, you know, when people are struggling and that, you know, you have to be in tune with the mood of the, you know, the Queen, although, you know, she's not in the same circumstances as the rest of us. Obviously she's not, but at least she sort of made an address. She tries to say, you know, give people some comfort. And Prince Charles actually has been quite good. So, that to me is, as soon as any monarchy from any country loses touch with the mood of the people, that is basically when it all goes wrong. Anyway, what do you think? Let me know. So thank you very much, and I'm going to put some links just for maybe information about Juan Carlos, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.